All right, so greetings and welcome to Peering at the Outlands. This is, again, the Chivalry edition. And just want to say thank you to everyone that is joining us today. We look forward to your questions, to your comments. Hopefully we will provide some infotainment and also maybe some insight into our views on the Chivalry. Today I am joined by Sir Iohann der Fuchs, which that keeps changing. I'm glad I made certain to read that first. So
spelling's optional.
It's spelling's optional? Oh, nice. That's like O'Brien. It's somewhere in the UAs. But so Iohann, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thanks for inviting me. It's really an honor to be here. One thing before we get started, we talked about, so I know that these interviews are supposed to be kind of about inspiring people and getting to know some Outlanders better. And there's been a tragedy in Certa and in the Outlands where we have lost one of those shining lights. And so I would say, if you would, and those of you watching, raise a glass to Lady Chelsea, a companion of the Argent Heart and one of the jubilant pride of Certa. May her enthusiasm and excitement live on in all of us.
Well said. And you're absolutely right. It is the grand hope of these shows that it is an inspiration, especially during these times where we can't all get together and hang out and do the same things we do at every single event, every single time, without refrain or repeat. But I think that's the important thing. And I love seeing so many people out there, posting vaccination stuff and just kind of gearing up, getting ready to be back in person. And so definitely thank you to their majesties. Thank you to all of our officer crew and corps within the Outlands and across the society for really taking a look at safety first, and then also trying to figure out how we can move forward, how we can kind of start this right back up again.
Absolutely. I think that there, while there are some great opportunities to do A&S collegiums and, take classes, teach classes, learn new skills. I know I've tried to do a little bit of that. It'll be nice to get some helmet time with friends and to hang around a propane fire because it's still the Outlands and we still can't have actual fires.
And of course, I know that during this break, you have been, did you take up cross training, and aren't you running a couple miles every day?
Yeah,
and, hitting the Pell and all the rest of that stuff?
Absolutely. And that and more in the form of lots of, we'll call it a form of meditation, where you sit and work on this motion as a meditative action, It's a thing.
See, I figured, and we'll get to it later on, but the blacksmithing, I know that's never a bad thing for that. Just kind of like, okay, I'm going to hammer you into the ground in as ugly manner as possible.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to develop a real leg shot. That's all I'm going for. I just want that right into that thigh.
Well, and that's the subtext for every time where Mortigan or His Excellency Roland or Elric is posting beautiful pictures of the artwork that they're doing, when they're kind of like, they show that hunk of leaf spring or, metal and everything else. And then they show the after picture where it has been hammered and fluted down to, just absolutely beautiful proportions. And all I'm thinking through that is, okay, I don't ever want any of those dudes to hit me ever again. So maybe you're doing that crew. Yeah. Why did you just take up spear and running? Because I'm faster than all of them, and I know I can get away.
That sounds about right. That sounds pretty good.
Well, hell, it was Battlemore a couple years ago, and they did the first time they had the I'm going to call it a Trivial Pursuit, because it was the circle, and then there was just the pies. And it was one of those, why does everybody keep chasing Iohann down into the little corner? Well, because the bastard likes to run.
There's a reason for all that cross training, right? That jogging around the list field, that's really the goal. If I can get my steps in every tournament.
I don't have to be fast, just faster than you. Yeah, it's a philosophy.
I was gonna say, it applies equally to the fighting field as to zombie apocalypse novels.
or those trips down to Gulf where you're down in the bayou. It's all legitimate.
There you go. Gen's trips and getting away from the bears.
Oh man, yes. But again, we'll discuss suffering later on.
Absolutely.
As we often do during these shows, and as an opportunity to kind of just get to know and get an introduction, if you'd be so kind, can you just give us a brief kind of history? I mean, you're fresh in most people's minds because you most recently served as Crown of the Outlands, but there's a greater story than that.
Yeah, absolutely. A wonderful honor and wonderful experience to serve as Crown. So my SCA journey actually started with a demo. When I was in middle school, there was my school did a medieval day. And so the kids make wooden or coats of arms, and they play some games, eat finger foods, and get sort of an introduction to, a middle school grade introduction to the Middle Ages. And the local SCA group does a demo. So they come out, do some ANS things, do a fighting demo during lunch. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was super awesome. And, as a middle school kid, like looking at people in armor swinging sticks around, like that was awesome. That was great. So that was the first time I saw the SCA.
And where was that?
That was in the Mid-Rom. So that was in the Barony of Northwoods, which is where I sort of got started at the end of high school. Went to a couple of practices. My first event was there, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Val Day, which is a fun little local event. And after high school, I moved out to Arizona, lived in Aytonville in the Barony of Twin Moons, and with the College of Brimstone for while I was there, learned how to fight, how to be on the other side of the field from the Outlands, and all about how much fun Estrella is, and really got started there. Met a bunch of wonderful people that I am so happy that I get to come back and hang out with now, back in the Outlands. After that, I moved after college out east, to the east for a very short time, and then Atlantia, and sort of skipped around, and got injured in Atlantia, kind of fell out, and got a little demoralized, and stopped playing for about 5 years. And then had an opportunity and moved out to Colorado, moved to the Outlands, where I've been for the last about 6 years. It's been really nice moving out here and getting involved in things that are not that are beyond just the fighting community, beyond sort of just that aspect of it, and really just finding a home out here. And I look forward to staying here and not having to move for a good long time.
We don't want to move your stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. The expanding shop takes up more space now. But since getting to the Outlands, I was knighted by Leif and Onstis at Battlemore, which was an amazing experience. And then the rest is recent history.
And see, one of the things that I loved about Battlemore and about your vigil was not only was the setup and everything else really nice right there along the river, but in my heart of suffering, I'm hoping that people continue your morning bathing trend of jumping right into the deepest part of the creek or the river that runs right through that area.
There's a great pool for it.
I think that is a perfectly acceptable version, unless you're being knighted Estrella and they just pour ice water on top of your head and into your boots. I think that's a pretty close second.
Yeah, that was something that having the opportunity to do that at Battlemore, to do all the rituals associated with it, was pretty awesome. And I really, I wouldn't have missed it. I love that site. I love that river. And I'm going to bring it up again later, but I'm totally coming for Sabia and in that fishing tournament trophy.
I believe she was bragging about that the other day. So yeah, good luck. And I'm very confident that Frog is also looking at that.
I think a good goal for us for this year is to be able to demonstrably catch a fish. I think that would be a pretty solid aim.
But see, I thought half of that tournament was it rolled right into a very odd bardic about the fictitious fish that you caught.
Oh, absolutely. So since we don't have photographic evidence, and we had Mistress Rashenda's fish sticks, you have to, you rely on the truth of the matter to discover who actually landed or lands the biggest fish.
I mean, not to bring up past wounds or anything else, you could just go get frozen trout and then carry them around camp like you actually caught them. I think you've been known to do that a couple times.
Who would do that?
Who would possibly do that? I don't even think those fish are native to this area. Yep.
No, they are.
They're
right over there. They're right over there.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Good sir, may I please hit you with my fish? Another game we need to get back to playing.
Yeah, so I've introduced that game to a handful of additional people. The background on this is there is a 12th century group of people called the Gelliards, and there were a bunch of overeducated, underemployed, wandering clerics for the most part, who just were rabble rousers. And one of the things that they did is there's a story about them playing a game where they tie a herring behind them and drag it behind them, and they process into a mass, playing a game where they are trying to step on each other's fish before their own fish is stepped on, which I realize is not the May I Hit You With a Fish game, but we can also play that too. So really, it's just fish all over the place.
See, I thought that was actually a fairly appropriate segue since there's been a recent notification that their Excellencies of Kerta are seeking replacements. So when we all get back together, there'll be some final courts. And I think that it is our responsibility, maybe our duty, to make certain that we recreate this for Nico and Lana.
Now, I'm pretty sure, I might have to look up all the people that it's been given to, but I believe, speaking well of the Jubilant Pride, I believe there's something about being able to process unbidden into their Excellency's court.
Yes, there is. And that was after, no, I think it was right after we stepped down as Baron and Baroness, are right during that time frame. And I remember them reading that out in court, and it was one of those.
Such excitement.
Oh, it's simultaneously a fantastic idea if it's not our court, and what a horrible idea if it actually were our court. But it's good to see their Excellencies spreading joy.
Well, I may have to find some of those joy bringers.
Yeah, definitely.
Not give them any bad ideas.
Luckily, this is not being recorded. It should be perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about you? You've done a couple of these interviews now, and I don't think you've actually let folks know sort of how you got involved in the SCA.
And this is where Sinara's laughing at me. She's like, "Wasn't that on purpose?" I'm just, I'm waving her off like, okay. So much like you, I learned about the SCA many years ago. So my high school, I grew up in Trimaris in South Florida, and had always had an interest in the Renaissance festivals. Like they would come through and everything else, so I would go to those. And my high school, the mascot were the Paladins. And so there was a medieval club that was essentially modeled after the SCA. It was a gentleman who had played a little bit, but then had gone his own way. And he set up this medieval club in our high school.
But so I guess it wouldn't be college anyway.
Nope, it was
not official SCA.
This was unofficial. This had nothing to do with the SCA. But we would we go to the Renaissance festivals and we would set up demos. And so we would have, tables full of weapons. We'd have tables full of armor, various bits and bobs. And people would come through, and there's a bunch of high school kids saying, oh, this is really neat. Do you want to learn about the history of this? Or would you like to know about this? And so we did that for the 4 years of high school. And then went to, I think, one SCA meeting, I think my senior year, and kind of went to like a populist meeting somewhere in whatever the barony in Broward County is, and kind of checked it out and was like, all right, that's cool, not for me. Went to University of Florida. And,
how wrong you were.
Huh? Yeah.
How wrong you were.
Yeah. Ended up at university, and there was a Renaissance ensemble, and then a kind of professional group called the Musica Vera Consort. And because I played music, I started playing music with them. And every year we would play the Hogtown Fair, which is an SCA event in Gainesville in Hogtown. So again, had the opportunity to meet people, to kind of see what was going on, but never really got involved. Years, probably decades pass, and moved to the Allens, moved to Colorado, and on a lark found the Cairghill practice, found the local practice, and went into the practice. And it was Her Excellency Katerina was kind of the first person that I spoke to. She kind of was her always enthusiastic self. And it's like, that rapid fire new person. What do you like to do? Do you want to fight? Do you want to do this? 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 Do you want to do this?
You can do everything.
And I'm completely lost of it all. But a couple of weeks passed, put on heavy armor for the first time. In fact, as I was thinking about it, Sir Tavor was the first person I ever fought. And that's pretty funny. And then, that just, I walked in the door and kind of haven't stopped at this point in time. This comment is, this is one of the powers of the jubilant pride and why they're chosen so carefully. Oh, of course.
Yep, that makes sense. I mean, I'm glad that you were at that, one of those Gellir classes.
So it's
cool.
It's been fun, and in the very odd sense, landing in Cairghill was absolutely perfect, as it is a goofy environment that suits my interests and personalities, and for some silly reason, they wanted us to be in charge of it for a little while. That was, again, another one of those absolutely amazing experiences that we were eternally grateful for our time and very happy to hand off the reins at the end of it, kind of thing.
Well, I feel like it's sort of a serendipity that your academic background and professional background and one of the themes of the barony.
Yep, there's the routine call of Dr. Finn Monkey Man, which hey, I love my monkey medallion. It's even better that way.
just very fitting.
It absolutely is. So there was a random thing that we've talked about a couple times, and I'll throw it out there. Her Excellency Caradwin definitely throwing in the suffering and the ook, another proud member of the Order of the Monkey, the Dancing Monkeys. So it was an early mentor of mine, when it came to fighting, once said that it really is like there's two distinct pathways in the SCA. And I don't think it's completely true, but it's good to put it in this kind of caricature of there's the folks that go for the far more historical aspect of things, and then there's the folks who kind of make more of a sport of it. And I find myself doing both depending on what we're doing, but I have an idea of what your opinion might be, but it's still fun to poke you and see what you're going to say.
So I don't think it's that bifurcated. I think that one of the things, the starting point is that nothing about the armored combat that we do is historical. We play a stick tag sport with imaginary bar maces, Q-tips, and magical shields, right? So there's that. We have the expectation that there is safety, which makes the game more accessible to people. So it is fundamentally is a modern sport, but it doesn't mean that, in my opinion, to be successful at it, that you have to sort of take it to the extreme. I mean, there are all kinds of people that make kit choices, weapon styles, or just how they present themselves on the field that present more of an image and an experience of something resembling chivalric combat within the context of our sport. And there are great examples of people who do that really well. I mean, from outside of our borders, you've got Adamar, Duke Adamar, Duke Branos, really any of rather many dukes who fight in chainmail. Within our borders, you've got a number of different people who fight very well and fight in kits that are not, or with styles that are not purely sporty. I mean, you mentioned, I think you mentioned His Excellency Roland. I love his kit. And Sir Curie's kit, similarly, fighting with folks that fight with cross-hilted swords. And don't get me wrong. So I definitely take advantage of the fact that we play a modern sport with magical weapons. And I use a basket hilt, and I have my magical shield, and I love my magical shield. So I think that there's an opportunity that presents itself within how you approach the activity, but the activity itself is very much a modern sport, and you can excel however you choose, or have fun however you choose to approach it.
And I think that's an important point of it, is the having fun portion of it kind of thing. Like I'm not going to say I'm guilty of it, but yeah, I'm totally guilty of, I enjoy the weapon styles that I fight and the tools that I use because it brings me great joy. What I absolutely love too is when I was putting my kit together, I had an old Ashcroft Baker helmet that is still usable. People in my barony still use it, even though now my friends have helped it. Now it's more aerodynamic. It is dimpled to shit everywhere, and the front visor is crumpled in. And that was either His Majesty or Sir Kujin. And it was probably both of them, one after the other kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to look for where the ripple is coming from. Yeah,
it's slick and aerodynamic now. It's the best. But I remember Bela was like, just look at some helmets, find the style you like. Here's a place to check out for helmets and whatnot. And it was the first time that I met Sir Ferris, now our then Sir Tiernan. And I looked at his helmet and I was like, damn, that is absolutely gorgeous. Sir, where did you get that helmet? Yeah, I made this one. I'm a Laurel in armoring. And I was like,
I'm so excited that they've moved to the Outlands.
Yes, indeed.
Cannot wait to make it down to Alberon and hang out with them.
And I mean, we're very lucky, especially down in Alberon. We've got His Excellency, Master Casca, yep. And all of his armoring and everything else. And there is a gentleman like that. I love that dude. I have not had a chance to hang out with him enough. I've only really fought him once. It was the big tournament in Australia. Everything's disappearing. It's the Allen's Prize tournament. Yeah. Dude legged me, and so there is a mountain of a man standing on top of me, and he just very gently was like, "You're dead." Thank you so much. Yes, I'm good. I appreciate it. But yeah, having all those folks, like, we have been very blessed recently to have a number of folks move from Aidenvelt, and it's awesome for us. So
yeah, absolutely. It is wonderful. I mean, they are getting our most recent, or I don't know, one of our most recent laurels anyway. In sort of it must have been a trade arranged with a player to be named later or something. But it's nice to be going back and forth a little bit with Aidenvelt, and it's great that we have a community between the two kingdoms.
Yeah, it's always very funny coming so late to the game. I never was around for the Age of Estrellas, where it was like Outlands versus Aidenvelt kind of thing, and there was that bitter rivalry kind of thing. because half the time, very honestly, when we arrive in Atenveld for Estrella, Sir Robert, Count Robert Magnus, has complained bitterly about this in a very joking manner of, God damn it, we can't get our fighters to get off their asses and get out on the field to fight each other because they're all hanging out and they don't want to go out and, beat each other up kind of thing. So it makes for...
Sure there's still plenty of that at Estrella anyway.
Oh, yeah, no, there's plenty, but mostly it's, I'm going to chase that mother, go and get him. But it's one of the greatest things when we go to like Great Western and everything. They're like, let's divide Outlands and Atenveld. Well, like, no, we already have a war that does that. We're going to hang out together and play. So I want to, only because I harassed him when he was in the hot seat, Vigilant Antoine has a question here, which is exceptionally long. So please pardon me while I zone out and try to read this damn thing and then come up with an answer that, Johann, you're going to answer first. So, Your Excellency, while a peer should be an example of all noble virtues to some degree, what virtue would you consider your compass point, the aspect that helps you back on the path when you feel your attention wavering? What helps you remind you of the joy in the dream?
I think that's a great question. Thanks for asking. For me, I think that I'm going to say sorry, I'm blanking on.
You're doing great.
Going through my list in my head and thinking like, okay, well, which one can I explain? Which one do I actually mean? And so I think forthrightness or honesty, and the underlying value of truth that comes along with that. I think that I am pretty brutally honest with myself. I try to be very honest with others, but perhaps temper that with a little bit of patience and compassion. Sometimes I forget, but as my wife laughs at me over there. But I think that honesty in deed, honesty in word, honesty in thought drive me.
For myself, I think that was a terrible answer. I was really hoping you'd name out all the virtues so I could just be like, oh, I'll talk about that one for a minute. What I want to focus on the kind of the second part of it, when I feel my attention wavering, because that is something that I personally feel very strongly right this minute. This, in my opinion, is a horrible electronic game, and we should not be overly engaging in it in this particular manner. That being said, I enjoy these opportunities to connect with friends, to connect and to meet new people and introduce them to the greater populace, so that when we come back, what I hope is generosity will be the virtue that really we can focus on. Like, I know that you have been learning how to play guitar in lieu of a medieval instrument because yeah, oh hell yeah, I'm putting it right out in the spotlight because I'm that kind of friend.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah, man, it's all good. But when we've talked about our camp and what we're really looking forward to, we're looking forward to having more music. And all I mean by that is just, how do you set a convivial attitude? How do you set a welcome camp? How do people know that if they're walking by, there's nothing that should stop them from coming in and saying hello, sharing a drink, sharing a story, sharing some music, that all are welcome. So I look and I'm hopeful and I'm encouraged by seeing so many people that what they're looking forward to again is those connections, renewing that.
So that made me realize that I I answered for sort of my personal life and not the way that I think about the SCA, because I think as a peer, so there's a difference between what I do in my own life, I think, and how I think about my
That's
world.
why I ignored all the rest of it. And I said I'm going to answer this one small part.
Nice.
It's still answering the question.
But okay, so come back, faith, and not like religious faith, but faith in the dream. And like faith in this ideal, faith that we're going to come back together, we're going to have this fun community, we're going to bring music, we're going to do all of these things. Faith in chivalry literature is this fundamental underpinning for so much, and is like the requisite before you can get to anywhere else, really. And when I look at that in the context of a peerage, and in the context of the SCA, I look at this thing that we talk about. We talk about the dream. And I think that's a really powerful thing. This idea that I want something about this dream, and to make this dream into something for other people that I can share it with, or that I can get out of it, whatever it is. That I want to take up blacksmithing, that I want to go camp in the woods, that I want to go hang out in the cold, that I want to put a helmet on and go hit people. Like, it's all bundled up in this concept of faith in the community, faith in something where we all come together and make this thing out of nothing.
And one quick point there, the message from Ilo saying, hey, this nice guy, come drink in my camp. Just remember, Ilo, if you turn up in our camp, Johann will expect you to play chess.
Yeah.
So.
And beat me handily several times.
Oh, yeah. I got to watch plenty of those.
Oh, yeah. I lost so many games of chess. It was amazing. It is awesome when you tell people, like, hey, I like this thing. And then they come out and show you just how much you have to learn.
And from what I remember, the nicest and quietest of people, the ones who never drew attention to themselves, the ones who generally, you'd always say hello and everything else, but they would turn up in camp and they would just kick the shit out of you repeatedly.
Yeah, just take my lunch money and like head on home.
I'm fairly certain I can hear Martine laughing in the background. And then Antoine, to a small second part, I'm really looking forward to your prize fights, because I think it's going to be daggers and compliments.
That's my favorite type of challenge, is compliments, or really just like compliments. So maybe we'll talk about it in a bit.
Let's go ahead and I'll cue it up. I'll lead you into it. Thing. Along those lines, you've always shown a great interest, and we've had the opportunity to travel a lot together to many other kingdoms and many other events and everything else. And quite often there are hidden in the programs theme-based tournaments, theme-based events and everything else. And they're generally a smaller subset of the population and everything else. But even though sometimes their numbers are small, their fervor is mighty. Like, their interest and their love and their engagement with it is fantastic. The one that comes to mind as I give this long nonsense ramble would be the PAW out at Great Western. And the invitations to that, and getting a chance to go and to see that, and to see the care and attention. And I'm not just talking about the fighters' kits, the consorts' favors, the food that was put out on tables, the drinks that were provided, the entertainment that was provided, the shade that was provided. It is an all-encompassing thing. Like, that's their focus for the event. So let's start with that. You've always had a great interest in them. So what's your interest? What drives you to kind of seek those out?
So that is the Company of St. George, if I'm not mistaken. They are just some incredibly welcoming folks. They happen to all have picked a century, or roughly a century. But the PAW, they welcome all manner of folks who want to come and be a part of it.
So what is a PAW? Let's start there.
A PAW is a deed of arms, or a particular type of tournament between that sort of spans a day, generally consisting of challenges between the venons and tenons, the challengers and challengees, where one person will challenge one or more people, or a group of people will challenge a group of people, and then you fight in a particular manner. So maybe you fight at the barrier. They're very popular in the, if I'm not mistaken, someone's going to correct me, 14th, 15th century and later. And the styles vary. There you sort of alternate back and forth and issue challenges to fight each other. It's a wonderful event where they tell a story along with, so that the viewers, the gallery, are entertained and a part of the day. What it does for me is it elevates the action of fighting. Whether the fighting is better or worse in terms of skill or technicality or whatever, it's fun to be a part of something that's a bigger tableau, a bigger presentation. It goes back to the same idea, that idea of faith. What is the thing we're looking for? And I personally look for this idealized chivalric conduct as part of what we're doing on the fighting field and off. So that gives me a chance to do things like challenge an opponent to, 15 counted blows over a barrier with great axes. And then the next round, I challenge him to compliments. And you have to be able to be present and be a part of both. It's so much fun. It's something that just doesn't, those themed activities provide something that doesn't quite exist on the regular Melee field, doesn't quite exist on the regular tournament field.
Well, to that end, specifically, like there's a couple other things that I had listed off in here. Like there was the William Marshall tourney at Pennsic that you rallied a large host of Outlanders. Like first off, getting a large host of Outlanders to Pennsic is in and of itself a challenge. And then I feel like the Outlanders took the field. I would say that all -1 took the field exceptionally honorably. I just
hold on. I want to tell your story. So I loved the Marshall tournament. That everything about it, from the outpouring of excitement, enthusiasm. You built a kit. Robert Magnus built a kit from scratch. Several other people put things together to come out and fight in this tournament that I was trying to pitch to people. And I hope everybody, and I think everybody had a really good time. We marched as the Outlands up to the gate and challenged our way in.
They should have said go away.
No, it started downpouring, and everybody sort of huddled underneath the tents to get out of the rain while we waited and hoped that the weather would clear so we could do the fighting. And I just remember standing out in the rain, looking around, seeing all these people just so excited to do this particular thing, and then hearing the speeches that were given, and then fighting alongside of all these heroes of the Outlands. I mean, fighting with Reese, Master Reese coming out and fighting at a number of events during the reign was just incredible. It was just so much fun. And I know he was in pain, was working through it, and was dedicated, and came out there to stand next to me, and it was amazing. Having the Outlands go in and just crush the other side was, I'm only going to say, a little bit unfair, but it looked so good, and was the William Marshall turn is a ransom tourney. So when you best someone and then drag them back to your resurrection point, there were so
many rules.
You get to take their lunch money, literally, and going out there and fighting where, like, I could jump out and do stupid stuff, and you guys, regardless of what happened, wouldn't let anybody get anywhere near me. I had literally brought a king's ransom. I had made bench. I had brought all this other stuff, gathered up a ton of things. People had given me things that I could use as ransom, and because you guys were there, I didn't have the opportunity even. And like it was
except
once.
Because the rule said you're not supposed to kill them.
And so there's this little thing that happened. Well, at one point, yada yada yada, I killed a guy and I gave them this great ransom. But that's not the important story. The important story is you. And towards the end, right? Kind of towards the end. I'm not really sure when this happened. I'm pretty sure, you had already like amassed a fortune in ransoms that you had taken from other people, and there was some squire on the other side that just had the misfortune of standing, 10 feet away from anybody else on his side. And suddenly out of nowhere from across the field comes Finn with a dagger running at this guy, just absolutely tackles into the ground and just mauls him in the face with the dagger. Not exactly what was planned in the rules or good chivalric conduct on the field. So
chivalry,
your ransom. You had to pay his weregeld to apologize for this uncouth behavior conducted upon the field, which he thought was amazing.
Yeah, I mean the funny part too with that I'm certain you're going to get to is the fact that his knight went and gave the queen money to give to my lady for the lesson taught. And I simultaneously feel like an asshole and hey, I finally got to teach on the field. Isn't that fantastic?
Wait, that's good service. I appreciate that. That's important.
So then the thing that leads into is right before everything was canceled, unfortunately, we had gotten all set and ready to go to the Viking deeds at golf.
Golf. Yeah, that's right.
Finn daggers? No. Sonara just brought the coins.
Awesome.
the payment for services rendered from the field. So I'm excited about this, and this fits more into your kit than mine. And so working on developing a kit for it. The Viking deeds are another theme thing, like the Crusader battles at Pennsic, or around the known world. Sometimes they happen, but Viking deeds have become a popular thing where you have some kit restrictions or expectations. I remember talking to Sir Elric, and he was wondering whether he was going to be allowed in with his like beautifully carved hilted sword and everything. Yeah, of course. But they have slightly different rules. They generally allow a little more contact. Sometimes they'll have things like counted blows, meaning a sword doesn't go through armor, doesn't go through a helmet, but an axe does. So you pick weapons that meet the intention of the activity. And I'm very excited about it. It just gives an opportunity to play with the rules within the dutiful safety constraints that we have, but it gives some opportunity. And again, the same thing kind of happens where you have to sort of produce or bring something as your buy-in, and then there's a giving of word fame and goods as doled out by the leaders of each side at the end. And there's a really great spirit of camaraderie in these. So I feel like I know you were working on some stuff for it. What all were you working on for it? Well, I know you have the new shield, right? Yeah, no, I had my shield. I had a suit of chain, like I had those things, and I'm trying to remember because I was setting up my not my ransom, but my kind of buy-in stuff for it. But it's one of those. It's so far removed. It's completely out of my head. It's when I start going through garb or going through kind of haversacks and everything else, or armor bags that were packed 14 months ago. I open it up. I'm like, what is this bag, and why is it so heavy? And it spills out of my hands, and it's a whole series of brooches from like Raymond's Quiet Press or other things that were ransomed to be paid for tournaments that I never got taken.
That's a part of it that I really like is whether you're making it, finding it, having somebody make it for you, whatever. When you go to these types of things, having really cool, really unique or intricate or whatever, valuable, whether in SCA context or specifically in SCA context generally, but just something that shows the effort, the care, and the respect that you have for the community that's doing these and putting it on or whatever, and being able to show up and have like the ransom or the largesse or whatever, not largesse, the contribution that like everybody else just is like in awe of. Like that in my mind is a cool part of it.
I don't care who I have to kill, I'm taking that home with me.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
We were very fortunate. Her Excellency Caradwin has been doing a ton of glasswork recently, and just the other day she gifted Sonar and I with some beautiful glass rings. And she kind of just reaches into her pocket and pulls out an entire handful of glass rings and says, see which one works for you, kind of thing. And she's not alone in that endeavor, and I think that it's going to be a very interesting, and it's going to be wonderful to see people. But I think that people have been practicing their skills. I think people have been learning new skills. I think that when we can all finally come together again, I think there's going to be an underlying excitement to kind of be like, hey, look what I've learned how to do, and I learned it just so I could share some of these things out.
I've really liked having the time to work on some other stuff. I like you said, I was getting into kind of making some stuff, and I hope to continue and learn from folks that do it a lot better than I do. But I think it'll be. I think people have been working on their fitness, some folks, and are going to be really dangerous when we come back to things.
Hopefully, Ronan's given up his stupid weapons. Yes, I'm talking to you right now, Ronan. Give up your stupid weapons. You'll be fine with the regular ones.
I think there are going to be some really good fights coming, and I think there will be just excited people. I think that the folks who have been who have had the space to work on something through this and maintain that sense of faith in the dream or whatever. I think that it will be both an outpouring of joy, but an opportunity for folks who have really been able to take advantage of the time, and not everybody has, certainly. And I don't expect anybody has to have. I absolutely look forward to the fight with somebody whose armor, well, I hope you watch it beforehand, but who hasn't come out of a bag since Estrella last year. I look forward to getting wiped up and down the field by the folks who have been working out 3 times a week every week for the past year and are just itching to hit somebody. So
you said it exactly right. It's no matter what the circumstance has been for the last while, we're just looking forward to seeing folks out again. Just looking forward to that engagement and everything else, which I'll then push you a little bit further, because it's something that we've talked about, the idea of how can we in the Outlands, how can we in our camp, our whatever, how can we hold or host some of these small tournaments like you and I have discussed, a 4-foot axe tourney or something like that, like something that we're going to have fun with, but let's make sure we do some stretching beforehand, because they have a tendency to get brutal and a little physical. And but I just think that it's something that even just putting that idea out there, I know some people that are going to be like, "Did they say 4-foot axe turning?"
Well, and not to start with something that is pretty ubiquitously Outlands, like a 4-foot axe tourney. But I think that's probably a good place to start. I think there's an opportunity. I know that we've participated in a number of these in other places, and I think there's something very cool about, especially about sort of invitational tournaments, and that finding a space and making one, whether it's our camp, whether it's finding space on a battlefield, to do some thematic things. I know I've talked to some folks about potentially looking at running a PA in the Outlands, or running. I know that there have been a few that have happened, but finding some context and connecting some of the different communities that have done some of these things.
Because I want to say that Sir Lothar
Yep.
and his lady Lydia, I think they ran a PA before everything shut down. I think there was an event about that.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it down for that, but I heard about it, and I look forward to helping try to create more of those, more opportunities for those.
I mean, Baron Arkell, Sir Tigger, is still so proud of his time on skis. I think there's no reason why we can't organize something stupid on skis for people. I think we'd have a good time with that.
I'm gonna have to make more skis.
We've made 2.5 pairs. I mean, you made 2 successful pairs, and I made half a pair.
That's still sitting in my garage. We can finish.
There'll be great wall hangings at some point in time, or they'll go to the new person. Like, here you go. These are perfectly fine.
Yeah, that seems fine.
No shoes we played with a little bit. We've had better luck with patents and making larger, greater flotation patents.
Oh no! Other
That's right.
The crampons are better than the patents. Life lessons learned. See, had you gone to Kingdom A&S and sat in on my class about snow travel, you'd be better informed on that one.
You're right. And if I wasn't such a friend, I would have had the video of you cutting a tree down queued up so we could really get a laugh.
I showed that video.
We didn't know that it could be that fast.
No, never mind. I didn't show that video during the class. I couldn't get it. I couldn't play it, but I told them about it, and my bravely ran away, Sir Robin, from the falling tree. So stumbling and trying to get out of my patents on the snow. But
Ilo had posted a mighty pilgrimage this summer. I will say that there will be a mighty pilgrimage in the future. It is something that we continue to look at and continue to discuss in various forms. Suffering will continue. We will make certain to invite people and bring that upon our friends and everyone else.
I think that's something that would be. I am very excited at the folks who have displayed interest. I am in some of these sort of SCA adjacent extracurricular things that involve being out in the snow, or as will hopefully be the case for next year, that Frog is engineering a period ice fishing trip. Yet more ways to be cold. And it's kind of the same. I think that I know the reason I'd like doing some of those things, being like doing the winter camp, dragging sleds and canvas tents out into the snow and setting that up and staying out there, is that same sort of elevating, sort of like themed tournaments or themed fighting elevates fighting in my mind. I think this I would call it minimal, but it's SCA minimalism. These backpacking trips or hiking trips in kit, going out in the snow, going out in the summertime, and going over long distances. Some of those things that we do, I think, elevate the experience of understanding our clothing, our gear, how well your wool actually works.
And it does. It works better than you think, except at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. Kind of, it's still, you're freezing. It doesn't make any difference.
That's where we need to find a cat.
I mean, we've indirectly tried to build some structures, and they were horrible, but we've learned from that experience. So it's one of those what's the next version, what's the next iteration kind of thing. Although again, Ronan got it absolutely right. You just steal everyone's blankets and roll yourself into them, and that's it. And yeah, Martine is absolutely correct. You only need one bean pot per trip. I think we carried, all said and done, what, 40 or 50 pounds of pottery and enough food for an army for a week.
I think to back up for just a second and explain what we're talking about. So what is this? 2 years ago now? At least. Or longer than that. 3 years ago, I've been corrected. A group of us decided to go hiking. So Finn, myself, Sonara, Martine, Ronan, Sir Gareth, Rothgar, and Roland. Am I missing anybody? Because I'm going to feel really bad if I am.
So keep going. You're good.
We decided to do a 14-mile hike in period shoes and period kit to go out and do an overnight out in the backcountry in Colorado, and learned a whole lot about how much water you need to carry and how well your leather water jug is actually sealed, and how to make them. We carried enough food, like Finn was saying, for way more people than we actually had, and learned about how efficient we probably should be about food planning and food cookware planning. I don't think we need to be Frodo and carry half a dozen pots and pans.
I mean, that was Sam, but
all right. Oh my God. Oh, nerd card has just been revoked. So I feel like now is the necessary time for me to say, may the fourth be with you.
Okay, there it is.
And
nerd card again.
So I was like, oh, he's trying to get his nerd card back. It's so cute.
I know. I've lost it, and it makes me a little bit sad.
I was like, you could show the box that has all the random crap all over it.
That could be. Grab that. But I certainly look forward to finding additional times and opportunities to go hiking, whether it's summer, winter, or hiking up a 14er at Battlemore, because we've now had a fencing tournament at the Saddle before the Peak on Princeton. Yep. So I feel like we need to do some hardsuit fighting up there.
Oh, I'm not going to disagree with you right this minute publicly.
I am pretty sure that Ilo would be all for it, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a minimums tournament at best to me. So much like many of our conversations, Johan, we've covered no ground, and we've done it in a very untimely fashion. But in respect to all of our viewers and to our tech staff, Shiloh, thank you as always for being willing to endure these long-winded nonsense conversations. Just wanted to thank everybody for turning up. Want to encourage you guys to continue to be safe, look out for each other, and I can't wait to see you all. Antoine has already promised that I get to stab him a couple times with a dagger, which is going to be fantastic. Nothing like shiving somebody. But
yes, shiving from the shiv.
Shiv from the shiv, man. But Sir Johan, thank you so much for the conversation and for a wonderful evening. So do you have anything else you'd like to add in there?
No, thank you. It's been a privilege, and I think you said it best, saying we've gotten, past a bunch of time and gotten not very far. And I feel like that could be linked to all of those hiking trips we've done.
Pretty much. So everyone in the Outlands, everyone in the North, be safe. And sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I was going to say, do you have a next show coming up?
Oh, good point. So right this moment, Her Excellency, Mr. Sevilla, is doing exceptionally well in her finals, is going to pass everything with flying colors. And be on the lookout for the next show. There should be an announcement coming soon. So definitely check out the rest of the Peering at the Outlands series. I've enjoyed them all, and it's given me greater insight into the wonderful members of our community.